Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome here to the Phoenix Raceway as we get ready for Under the Lights Racing in the Desert for race number 5 of the Dark Horse Racing Series Season 6. 150 laps await these drivers here tonight. Seth Cole alongside of Matthew Rodriguez, and Matt was watching these guys in practice. I think it's pretty safe to say tonight's going to be all about track position because drivers were having a lot of difficulty making moves.
Always track position, always tires. You got to make sure you're managing your stuff, but hey, you can't be too focused on managing your stuff and fall all the way back to the pack because it's hard to claw it all the way back.
As you can see, the pace car ducking off onto pit road on what is the back straightaway here. Start-finish lines over in the dog leg, so the up-to-date version of Phoenix, if you will. And that'll be kind of interesting, too, to kind of see these drivers maybe drag race it out into the dog leg to the start-finish line with a checkered flag on the line.
Oh, spinner!
Gosh, that is our pole sitter, Eric Peterson, right out of the gate.
And I think he really just got his left side tires really low on that apron. Got both left sides right underneath that yellow line, just spun him right on around.
No caution going to wave for the solo spin there just below the yellow line on the front straightaway as Rick Ravon now takes the top position. And that is really a tough break in two ways for Eric Peterson because one, yeah, the caution doesn't come out to save him, but two, that car's going to have to come to pit road and probably take on a faster pair. He's got 149 laps left to run that thing out without the hope of a mulligan.
I'm telling you, Eric Peterson has terrible luck on these restarts.
Man, my goodness. I mean, talk about starting out the evening on a sour note as Alex Coates
Caution's out.
And it's going to be for Andrew Wood and Eric Schaus, who both come to a halt and literally nose to tail there. That was interesting, both facing the same direction.
I'll tell you, one guy who's jumping for joy has to be Eric Peterson right now.
Oh, yeah.
He was definitely sweating bullets. Car's still crabbing. He's getting ready to use his fast repair. But, man, it just kind of hurts to see Andrew Wood in another accident. I don't really know what happened here.
Let's see if we can find out exactly what happened here with Andrew Wood.
Woo!
As caution out for the first time tonight.
I think there may have been a little bit of a spicy entry by Andrew Wood.
I mentioned the fact that it'd be very difficult to pass here tonight, especially if you're that car on the inside line. Not a whole lot of banking here at Phoenix, so the car is going to want to push up. And here's a look at it going into turn one. I'm going to have a tough time with remembering that 1 is 3 and 3 is 1.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit just of a disagreement. I think realistically, Eric Schaus arcs just a little bit more down into the corner a little bit earlier, and Andrew Wood carries a little bit more speed into those corners, and unfortunately just kind of met in the middle. Not really even in the middle on entry. And then CJ Holloman just kind of had nowhere to go, and he tried his best to avoid both of them. Got a little bit of contact from Schaus and driving into the wall afterwards. Don't think that car's too hurt, but definitely the toes knocked out.
I think he got more damage from the wall than he did from the contact of Schaus landing on right around that right rear tire.
That's it. Just good heads-up avoidance of, even if you still get in the accident, hey, it's better than getting in the accident and having to tow on back. Being able to drive it on back is 10 times better.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you call it tow, you're guaranteed to lose at least a lap here, probably 2. It doesn't take that long to get around a racetrack like Phoenix. I mean, even right there, we had the first 2-3 laps under green flag conditions, and these drivers were running low 20s to sub 20 lap times here under green flag conditions.
So I think it's really worth it to bring up just the fact of that opening incident with Eric Peterson, and how he spun out and why this happened. So you got to think Phoenix is most likely or most popular with the stock cars, and the stock cars all have, yes, their own independent suspension, but they are able to be a little bit more stable when changing from elevation up on the banking all the way to the apron. Realistically, the charm of Phoenix is being able to transition off that banking into the low flat apron, getting a little bit of time, then shoot back up on the racetrack, if provided you have enough room. Well, Indy cars are a lot different. They don't like the big elevation changes. They don't like going from banking to apron, and the apron is a lot more slick than that banking, and unfortunately, at that low speed, you just don't have very much downforce, and the car just comes right on around.
Yeah, and of course with the Indy cars too, as you mentioned, downforce is the optimal thing in terms of producing the high speeds we see these cars be able to carry. You've got that aero screen underneath there too, so I'd have to assume you go from the banking down to the apron there in the front stretch, that aero screen is going to drag, and that might also cause some issues.
Yeah, it's kind of a risk versus reward. I would not rule out guys maybe trying that later in the race, but right now, at least on race restarts, it's kind of a little bit of a dangerous gamble here. I could see someone who's back in the pack, maybe fifth, sixth, seventh on back, hey, risk it and try it because yes, it is a lesser line around the racetrack, and provided you get a good enough jump, hey, it will aid you.
So Alec Coates took the lead from Rick Ravon just prior to that caution coming out. He'll be the one to get us back underway. Last time out's winner, Luis Gonzalez Nunez, will line up in third. Points leader Craig Forsyth in fourth. And Gary Corley, who was actually top of the board in practice. Keep your eye on him. He might be eyeing his first win of the season as he'll complete the top five. Looks like Eric Peterson, CJ Holloman, Eric Schaus all took their faster pairs here under this caution period. They'll have to run the remaining 143 laps without the aid of a mulligan. So a little bit behind the eight ball for those drivers.
Absolutely, but I have to say I'm extremely impressed with Gonzalez Nunez just being able to, hey, take that win at New Hampshire and go right back at a track like Phoenix, where it's not exactly the same, but it has the same characteristics that you can kind of continue to prey upon. And hey, this is a way that you can start clawing your way back in that championship.
And with that win last time out, Nunez jumps up 6 spots to 5th in the point standings behind Jeff Heisong, David Cook, Rick Ravon, and Craig Forsyth. Forsyth only 10 points over Rick Ravon, and David Cook not in the field here tonight. So there could be a lot of moving around of positions here inside of the top 5 by the time the checkers waves. Craig Forsyth moving to the front. He restarted in the 4th position, now going to move up to 3rd, getting around Nunez.
Realistically, talk about Forsyth. I mean, that is someone who has been able to take the Rick Ravon every single week. And hey, Rick Ravon's had races where he has not had to worry about in previous seasons. But it seems like this season, Forsyth has been really step for step with Ravon and even actively beating him. So it's going to be kind of a fight all the way to the end.
It's kind of interesting. We know that obviously the scheduling changed when we did previous seasons of the Dark Horse Racing Series. It was on Wednesday nights. They then moved it to Sunday nights, and while that helped Craig Forsyth, that hurt Nick DeGroot. So now we're seeing Forsyth in a full-time role, and as we've seen, obviously, in the last 4 weeks, definitely en route to be in the hunt for that championship as we got a hunt for the race lead.
Just an update for our two cars that had a little bit, or Eric's that had a misfortune. Eric Peterson, who spun on the race start, ended up 2 laps down, has a repaired car, but already burned his fast repair. Eric Schaus also in that same boat, 2 laps down. I think he's still trying to bide his time to get back on the lead lap.
Of course, both of those drivers, if we were to have a couple of cautions, they would get the benefit of the free pass. Right now, Peterson running a 2.5 seconds ahead of Eric Schaus, so he would be the first one in line for a lucky dog should we see a yellow. The best battle on track continues to be for that 3rd spot. Nunez got passed by Forsyth, but he keeps showing the nose, especially off of turn 2 down the back straight. Here he goes again.
Here's a big question. We hear these drivers talk about it week in, week out, dirty air. Being behind another guy changes how this car drives so dramatically. Now, think of someone like Rick Ravon. Hey, if he stays up front for 30 laps, then someone gets in front of him, throws that dirty air on his nose. I mean, how much do you think that affects him since he hasn't ran in it for 30, 40 laps?
I would think that it would affect him even more here than it would at tracks we've been to in the past, based on the fact, as mentioned, not a whole lot of banking. So if that thing gets tight, it's not going to take long for it to push up to the outside wall.
And I realistically say, I'm interested to see the kind of dynamic that lap traffic will end up bringing onto this race, since I do see some guys falling at least a little bit deeper off the pack, whether trying to conserve or just trying to learn the track a little bit more. Jeff Heisong's one of those notables where he's not too far off, but I noticed that he is not really on that same pace as those lead 4.
3-car battle here. Only 2 of them are battling for the 5th position. Jeff Heisong taking that spot inside the top 5. Gary Corley in the 7 is the other driver. That bright yellow car you see there, that's Eric Peterson. Lap Machine currently running in between these 2 drivers in 5th and 6th, trying to hope that a caution can save him, get a lucky dog, and get one of his 2 laps back.
That's the big thing. You have to really hope. Obviously, we've kind of had a little bit of a roulette wheel, whether it's going to be a caution race or a lot of cautions in a race or no cautions. Obviously, New Hampshire is one of those kind of outliers, so I'd be interested to see what it is, but realistically, Phoenix is one of those places where it can go either way.
I don't know if Luis Gonzalez Nunez, if he was trying a higher line there through 3 and 4, or if he just overshot the corner, but he was almost right up against the wall there. I'm assuming since he's down against the yellow line this time that he may have overshot the corner and he lost ground to Craig Forsyth. So that battle for third dissipates for the moment. Best battle now is for the race lead. That's where Alec Coates keeps Rick Ravon honest. He's only been able to open up maybe about half a second at most. He's been kind of keeping it between 4.5 tenths.
Honestly, this kind of hits me as deja vu back from New Hampshire. Kind of having Ravon lead the way and then someone just kind of keep tagging along, not really being within striking distance, but not letting him claw his way away. I'm looking back at the field again. Gary Corley, kind of one of those guys that are having a good run today.
Absolutely. Right now, holding down that 5th position, or make that 6th position, as the battle for 3rd might be closing up again. Nunez, about 2 car lengths off the back of that 4D number 27 of Craig Forsyth. Shows the nose to the top side there. Again, I think a combination of trying to get a run down the straight, but also trying to get the clean air to the nose, be able to have that turning ability from the center of the corner off.
And the good news is, with Phoenix having those extra access lanes all the way down below, that does open up some room where if you think that clean air will really give you that big of an advantage, you can kind of dive down there, hope for a little bit of clean air to get to your front nose. But again, it's kind of risk versus reward since it's a very slick racetrack.
So we know that at the tracks we've been to here the last few weeks, especially the 1.5 miles, fuel window roughly in the 30 to maybe 35 lap range. Phoenix a little over a mile in length, so we can obviously, I think, lengthen the fuel window for these guys. But I mean, what are you thinking? Maybe 40 laps max? Could they maybe go to 45?
I would be a little bit conservative, and I'd say about 30, 35. Again, I think you can actually go a lot farther than that, but I'm just kind of breaking the race down into chunks here, where if I'm going about 30, 40 laps, I can make this probably about a 4 stop race. I don't think we can make it a 2-stop race under any circumstances, but I'm looking at Eric Schaus up here battling for what theoretically would be 6th. As someone who is running in 6th, and obviously as someone who has the lap car in front of me, how do these guys really respond when you have a guy who's not really fighting for position, but he's hanging out in front of you and kind of taking the air off your nose?
Well, let's not forget, he is actually battling for position because the car just up ahead of him is Eric Peterson. I mean, unfortunately for the 5th and 6th place drivers, they've got the battle for the lucky dog going on in between them.
It's one of those blue flag scenarios that the race is going on, but you're not in it.
Exactly, the race within the race. Battle for third's been a lot of fun to watch there between Nunez and Forsyth. Nunez almost looked like he was going to be able to get to the inside of Craig Forsyth. But again, too, mention the fact that when watching these guys in practice, saw a lot of drivers test the waters of driving it deep to the inside and pushing up off of the corner, getting into the driver they were trying to pass, and not being able to cleanly complete the move around. For Nunez, as these tires continue to wear down here, especially the heat buildup in that right front, it's kind of a pick your moment type of thing, and I'm almost wondering if here tonight it's going to be capitalizing on somebody's mistake rather than being able to pull off the pass yourself.
I don't like that idea because I've been watching some of the new guys who have tires, Eric Schaus, Eric Peterson, who had to come in and pit and take those new tires. I've noticed they've ran a lot more aggressively of a line, getting right on that yellow line, getting maybe just a pinch below it, and having great gains. But I'm seeing guys who haven't had that opportunity to pit or haven't had that opportunity to take fresh tires, like Luis Gonzalez Nunez. And he's not exactly attacking that yellow line in the same way. And you could just tell it's car stability issues where, hey, he's hanging, he proved me wrong, but realistically, he's hanging right above that yellow line and his car looks fairly stable. But whenever he gets way down there, almost on that yellow line, you can notice the car wiggle a little bit. You can see his hands move a little bit more. I think it's really just a driver comfort thing. And again, it's lap 31 of 150.
Yeah, underneath that caution period, a half dozen drivers hit pit lane. The majority of them, as we're on board here with Luis Gonzalez Nunez, and he will almost complete the pass here on Forsyth. He's going to try it again down here into 3 and 4. They still stay side by side. So as we watch this, of those half dozen drivers that came to pit road, at least 4 of them came down for damage repair. But you did have Joseph Morales, who came down and topped off the fuel tank. CJ Holloman, obviously he took on a fast repair and took on tires while he was there. But he only has been able to make his way up from 12th restarting spot to 10th. So I don't know if necessarily tires are going to come into play as much as it has in the past, maybe even more so with the fact that it's nighttime conditions, so there's a little bit more grip in the track.
I will say that with Craig Forsyth falling back to fourth, I'm kind of watching how some of these drivers are racing. And it's one of those kind of battle of attrition, kind of run your mind through what's the worst case scenario. And hey, Forsyth and Gonzalez were pretty much side by side for about 2 laps there. And I've noticed that, hey, Forsyth seems like he's burnt off his tires a lot more, and they've lost a bit of time just by doing that side by side battle. So it's going to be kind of a big question of, hey, if someone gets below you or puts nose below you and is hanging there, is it worth more just letting him on by, going to battle him later, saving top tires, and hopefully saving up that gap to make sure the leader doesn't get away?
Well, Alec Cote might have a battle for second place here. Nunez, after getting around Forsyth, is starting to close up the gap between himself and the 10. Don't forget, Alex Cote started off the season with a bang, finished runner-up to Rick Ravon in the season opener at Pocono. He did miss the start a couple of weeks ago at New Hampshire, so he has dropped in the point standings. I believe he is now 9th in standings, 79 points back, but trying to gain those points back. And speaking of points, tonight's a precursor to a very important race next week. These drivers will be heading to the Irish Hills of Michigan, which is one of only 2 double points races here this season. The other one, of course, being the season finale at Indianapolis. So, I mean, how important is it for these guys that are up there inside the top 5, top 10 in the points days to have good momentum going into a double points race like that?
For those guys like Forsyth, Ravon, Highsong, I'd be really looking to maintain my position. Don't have to go out, don't have to be spectacular. Just do what you do, make sure you finish top 5, get those points, and go on to the next race. Guys like Eric Peterson, even Luis Gonzalez Nunez, hey, he's missed the race this season. He is the highest up in points, who has 3 starts this season. Realistically, Gonzalez Nunez needs to go out there. He needs to have a good show. He needs to go out and win the race. Get those extra points. Hey, those double points will make up partially for that race that you missed, and it'll get you right back in that conversation. Eric Peterson, same thing. Charles Teed, Thaddeus McMurray, even. Some of those guys who are deeper down in the pack, that race could really be a great equalizer to get you back in it.
What were one of those X factors you were looking forward to seeing how it played out? Lap traffic? Well, race leader Rick Ravon has caught the tail end of the field. That's Joe McAdory in the 312. CJ Holloman just up ahead in the 58. Looks like they're going to yield to the bottom and give the race leader the top line to swing around them by the time they get down here to turn 2. There was another driver up ahead as well. I believe that might have possibly been the 04 of Dylan McIntosh, who now would be the last car on the lead lap in 9th position.
I'll tell you, as a leader, I've never enjoyed dealing with lap traffic. It's always so unpredictable. It's not really anything against them. Trust me, the lap traffic, usually they want to let you by. They don't want to be near you. They don't want to hold you up. But also as a leader, it's a kind of thing where you have to go defensive driving and say, hey, at any moment when I go in this corner, I could get taken out just because they're expecting me too much. Maybe they're at least trying to give me more room and end up getting themselves in a worse situation. Looks like we have some pitters.
Yeah, it was going to be an interesting battle for second place between Coates and Nunez when they were approaching the traffic, and Coates deciding that he was going to hit pit lane instead, along with Jason Hand. Here comes Rick Ravon and CJ Holloman as well. That's actually Dylan McIntosh there, the 04, just behind the driver pitting from the race lead. Forsyth's in, Gary Corley in as well.
See, I kind of...
Nunez and Highsong.
I'd say I'm not fully... I don't fully understand Ravon's kind of intention here, because I saw him dive on the pit road. He dove in the pit road very aggressively, got it slowed down the pit road speed. That's all fine. But it's almost like he slowed up and pulled in front of the 04 and kind of made a brake check himself. It's kind of weird. Just kind of some awareness.
See how that plays out for the race leader is now Nunez on pit lane. And that's going to turn the race lead over to Joseph Morales. Remember I told you, Morales came to pit road under our only caution period, topped off the fuel tank, so he can go an extra lap or two. Very valuable in getting some lap lead points there for that target machine.
Yeah, right now I don't think you really have to worry about an undercut. Yes, it will kind of aid you a little bit, getting yourself maybe a second forward, having the ability to battle with the leader, maybe having ability to jump people in lap traffic positions. But right now I'm more than happy to go a little bit further just to gain a lap lead, just so I can get those points, and then later on focus on short pitting or maybe track position or some pit strategy.
waiting on Morales and Joe McAdory to come to pit road to complete the cycle of green flag pit stops here. McAdory, with most of the race leaders coming to pit road right now, is being scored on the lead lap. Obviously, when he pits or when Morales pits, then McAdory would probably be put back at least a lap down. Here comes Morales now to pit lane, and at least for the most part here for these drivers, it looks like it's relatively easy getting onto pit road. I mean, not a whole lot of banking there going through 1 and 2, so you're relatively running on the apron in a way already, so doesn't seem like that bad of a transition for these guys as opposed to some of the mile and a halves we've been to the last few weeks.
Yeah, it's kind of funny where I was always one of those people who were always in that kind of general consensus of the moment I got Phoenix figured out, they always made a configuration change or they repaved or they moved the start finish line or they did something else where I just had no idea where the track is. This track changes, it seems so often where any advantage you seem to have just always disappears due to a repave or again, the reconfiguration or just the cars changing or different weather conditions.
S-Track's undergone a lot of changes. You had the start-finish line on what is the backstretch at this configuration of the racetrack. You also used to have grass right there where the asphalt is through the dog leg. Then they ended up putting asphalt where the grass was. Still had the start-finish line on what is the current backstretch right here. They had the start-finish line here, and then they moved the start-finish line over to the other side of the racetrack. So yeah, there's been multiple changes at this track.
There's a lot of drivers who really are advocating for those grass to come back just because they don't really like the racing of people being able to dive below the yellow line. And honestly, it's always a mixed bag of, yes, it's risk versus reward. It does make it more entertaining, but also it does make it a little bit more kind of not like track limits in a way.
Rayvon cycles back to the lead, Coates into second. Nunez is now third. Jeff Hysong fourth, and Craig Forsyth was the biggest loser on that round of green flag pit stops. He was fourth when the pit stops began, and he's going to cycle out into that fifth position. Remember, too, he was one of the first ones to dive onto pit lane, so I don't necessarily think it has anything to do with the speed of that race car, and it looked like he got onto pit road relatively safely. I'm wondering if maybe there was maybe a mistake of not getting up to speed as quickly as some of these other drivers, maybe encountered traffic when he came off of pit road, but he's got quite a bit of distance, over 7.5 seconds between himself and Hysong if he's going to get up inside the top four.
Notice I've been seeing Joseph Morales and Gary Corley kind of go back and forth where Corley has been oversending in corners just to make sure he's ahead of Joseph Morales. And Morales actually blocked him off in that corner just to prevent it coming back. But it's kind of strategy of making sure you guys can maintain track position. Even if you're not in the lead of the race, that track position is still so vital.
Jason Hand there as well, so a three-way battle for sixth between Morales, Corley, and Hand, who we're on board with now. Take a look here at our telemetry for the 8th place driver, and running in the 5th gear here rather than in 6th gear, so obviously not saving fuel. I'm wondering at a track like this particularly, I mean, what are the advantages between 5th and 6th gear? Because when we have the stock cars here at Phoenix, especially over in the current 1 and 2, usually have drivers downshifting.
And that's a big thing of, really the big difference between 5th and 6th is 6 is more of a drafting gear. And realistically, we don't really reach those speeds. The ratio between 5th and 6th is very close, but 5th definitely is a little bit lower of a ratio where you will be able to get a little bit more acceleration off the corners. So that's really more in my mind. 4th is not really an ideal gear for this track, at least, again, from my experience, just because the ratio is a lot lower than 5th, and you have to be slowing down a whole lot.
Andrew Wood in the 64 still on the lead lap after he was involved in the first caution of the night, and he's about to make it a 4-man fight for that 6th position, closing up the gap between himself and Jason Hand. Remember, though, Andrew Wood has used his faster pair already, so got to be very careful on how he approaches this. Also, if you look just back there in the back of your screen, that's your race leader, Rick Rayvon, about to come around and maybe lap a car that's been very fast every time we've seen him on the racetrack here this season.
And it's kind of, Andrew Wood has the same story as Charles Teed in a way, where he is extremely fast and, hey, it's just kind of one of those bullets shot out of a cannon. But he seems to be involved in every single incident that happens, and it just kind of hampers what could be a good day.
Yeah, and mentioned that David Cook wasn't in the field. Didn't even realize that Charles Teed wasn't on the grid tonight either.
Yeah, he told us he was going to be on vacation this week.
Oh, that's right.
I hope he's enjoying us from wherever he is. But obviously, kind of Andrew Wood has that same Charles Teed mentality of, trust me, he's fast, but he just can't keep his nose clean, whether it be out of instance of his own doing or just instance that he has no chance of being caught up in. And this is what we kind of say as a lap car versus a leader of, hey, lap car doesn't have to make it easy on you because they're trying to stay on the lead lap. If a caution comes out, if a caution comes out, they want to be on the lead lap, but it's kind of that thing of the leader is going to get by you. It's common courtesy. You don't want it coming back at you.
That was very nearly our second caution of the night. Wood fighting hard to stay on the lead lap, but Rick Ravon around the top side able to complete the pass. So Andrew Wood would now fall into the free pass position should we get a caution. But there's a lot more drivers up here that Rick Ravon's looking to get around. Jason Hand next on the hit list. He goes really wide there through 3 and 4. He'll now get put a lap down. Next up, the 7 of Gary Corley for Rick.
That's a big thing for a lot of these guys who are just starting in IndyCar, or at least just starting to kind of learn the general ropes of racing. Letting a guy pass you or trying to find a way to let the leader pass you or a faster car pass you while still maintaining your current battle. So, hey, let's say you are Eric Peterson, Eric Schaus, and you're battling for 13th, 14th here. And hey, you got the leader coming up and you don't want to lose your spot in the battle. I mean, you got to find a way to quickly let the leader by you and then, hey, stay right on his bumper to make sure you're still in your battle.
Here's the battle for the lucky dog. Andrew Wood, Jason Hand. Ooh, Hand might have gotten the wall a little bit there with the right side Firestones off of turn 4. Second time he's been really wide
Caution's
there.
out.
We got a caution. It's CJ Holloman, I believe. He's gone around on the front stretch.
Ooh. Oh, it looks like he may have it looks like he sent it just a little bit too deep in the corner. I just tapped the wall a little bit, and then the wall just bounced him right on off.
And we didn't stay with Andrew Wood. He was diving onto pit lane, it looked like, just before that caution came out. He was able to get back onto the racetrack before hitting the commitment line. So very heads-up awareness there by the driver of the 64, because he is the lucky dog driver. He would have given that up had he hit pit road.
Andrew Wood is one of those guys that I really think can still kind of come back in this and still be a threat in this race, but it's going to take a little bit of, it's going to take a lot of patience and it's going to take a lot of work. Because again, when you're in this hole, it's going to take a minute to claw your way back out. And even if you do get that free pass, you're going to be all the way back and behind P14. So methodically, you're going to work your way back up.
Our race leaders on pit road. We'll find out how it all shuffled out in just a minute as we look at the replay here with CJ Holloman, and that car just never turned off of the corner. So would that be just overcooking that right front, or could there be something maybe mechanical that went on there? Because it just looked like that thing just went straight after it got 3/4 of the way through.
Man, I'm kind of looking here through the field, just seeing if I can find any interesting. Joseph Morales coming down is definitely kind of an interesting play, but he seems kind of evenly matched of Gary Corley, so I think he's trying to stay on that same strategy, maybe kind of shake it up a little bit, hope that he can kind of get on a different strategy. We say it again, week in, week out. If you can't beat him on speed, try to beat him on strategy.
Going to go on board with Luis Gonzalez Nunez, who is running in the 4th position. Watch how he is able to avoid this. My gosh, Holloman just taking a turn dead left in front of him after that car finally was released by the outside blue safer barrier and almost into the path of Luis Gonzalez Nunez, who's been having a great performance so far here tonight.
Still looking back here.
Greg Forsythe stayed out an extra lap, I just noticed. He's now on pit road.
I think he might have caught on to a strategy and wanted to try it, but definitely a little bit late in the game to be trying that.
Well, I mean,
better under caution than under green, but still.
But we also don't know exactly what the fuel numbers are for these drivers, how far they can actually make it as far as length. And don't forget that Craig Forsythe is no stranger to when it comes to a fuel strategy race. Ended up coasting to the start-finish line at Auto Club Speedway for his first win on the season. So,
I mean, he can make it work. You always make it too.
Exactly. So Ravon, Coates, and Nunez going to be our top 3 when we go back green. Looks like a couple of drivers are going to be electing to take the wave around. Eric Schaus and Eric Peterson This would put them both at 1 lap down rather than 2 laps down. Granted, though, they're going to be hoping for a quick caution because they've got about 20 laps on their tires. That's also, is that the 00 of Jason Hand up there that also is taking the wave around, so this would put him back on the lead lap. So it would be Dylan McIntosh, Joe McAdory, Eric Schaus, Eric Peterson, who would all be battling for the lucky dog when and if we end up getting another yellow flag.
And just giving an update on CJ Holloman, obviously after being involved in that first accident that included Eric Schaus and Eric Schaus, I think he's going to be done for today. I think he just hopped out of the car. He's currently 5 laps down. He's out of a fast repair. He's currently waiting for his car to be repaired, but when he comes back out, it's going to be kind of tough to make up any positions.
Yeah, the only other driver besides Holloman, Schaus, and Peterson that has taken on a fast repair is now Andrew Wood. I believe he took that fast repair on when he made his green flag pit stop. He did not take the fast repair on under our first yellow. So 4 drivers now have used their fast repair as Rick Ravon gets us back under the green flag. 80 laps to go here under the lights at Phoenix.
And this is kind of one of those great equalizer moments where everyone's kind of stacked up. First top 3 is really kind of on Rick Ravon, but I'm seeing everyone back behind. They're really separating in their own little groups. 1st through 3rd, 4th through 6th, and then everyone on back through 5th. Or 7th.
Two groups of 3 there for our top 6. There's the Jeff Heisong machine in 4th, Forsyth behind him in 5th, and Corley in the 6th position. Battle right now looks like it might be for 2nd place. Alec Coates falling into the clutches of Luis Gonzalez Nunez. And again, you talked about the credit to Nunez coming off the momentum of his first career victory last week. There are kind of a few similarities between New Hampshire and Phoenix. The most notable is the fact that it's a relatively flat track in the corners, not a lot of banking.
Yeah, obviously Phoenix does have a little bit more banking, but it's relatively still the same idea here where you could, maybe if you squint your eyes, you can kind of see enough comparisons or you say, I think I can win here. But hey, any momentum going in is better than no momentum.
I'm trying the eye squint method. It's not quite working.
I mean, the walls are blue, so.
They are, that's true. I don't know if Ravon might have just barely brushed the wall there off of turn 2. Got very close to it, or either that or he had to bail out of the throttle because now Alec Coates appears to be back on the warpath. He's closed up the distance, 3 car lengths between himself and Rick Ravon.
I think he may have to lift a little bit. I don't see any damage on the right side of his car, but definitely worth keeping an eye on, just seeing if it continues.
Of course, as we mentioned too, with Alec Coates a couple of weeks ago in New Hampshire not making the start, losing positions, trying to gain those points back here tonight. Looks like now we've got 5 drivers up here in this lead group. Jeff Heisong and Craig Forsyth have driven away from Gary Corley, and they're starting to possibly reel in Luis Gonzalez Nunez in a battle for 3rd. I kind of feel like this has been a bit of a breakout year for Jeff Heisong. I remember that he's been in the conversation up inside the top 10 in past seasons, but this year he's really turned up the wick. He's ended up finishing inside the top 10 in 3 of the 4 starts this season. He currently sits in the 4th position in the standings. He will be moving up into the top 3 with David Cook not in the field here tonight, and again running solidly inside the top 5 here this evening.
Yeah, really, Jeff Heisong's not really setting the world on fire. Still, obviously, looking for that first win at Dark Horse Racing Series. But he's been more consistent this season. It really seems where he's been able to kind of take it to him. Obviously, kind of wants a little bit of redemption, wants to win a race. But, hey, you got to take baby steps first. You can't just go out trying to win a race and not have good finishes to get you there.
And you kind of get that feeling, too, that at some point this season, we might end up seeing Jeff Heisong go to victory lane. I kind of have the same feeling about Andrew Wood, the same feeling about Alec Coates. These are drivers that we've seen up inside the top 5 consistently in the starts that they've made. And I wonder if a big reason for that is, as opposed to the kind of 50-50 split between speedways and road courses we've seen in past seasons, it's all speedway racing here in Season 6.
And realistically, he really started having kind of breakout runs in Season 4, Season 5, where Season 5, I mean, that is the closest he's come to actually winning a race at Gateway. Ended up finishing P2, led 2 laps, but again, just kind of near it and one of those oh-so-close kind of moments. And then again, Iowa, in Indianapolis, really Indianapolis is one of the tracks he has circled on his schedule, but not really a track that you want to rely on to try and win.
Riding on board here with Luis Gonzalez Nunez as he puts the pressure on Alex Coates. Gonna drive to the inside, going into turn 3. Can he clear him off of turn 4? Not quite here as the two get very close through the center of the front stretch dogleg.
This is where this can go very wrong if you just misjudge it just a little bit, maybe try a crossover. Yep.
Coates gonna try to get the spot back. This side-by-side racing's only gonna stall these guys' momentum out and bring Jeff Heisong and Craig Forsyth into the conversation.
Rick Ravon's jumping up and down saying, please keep doing that, keep doing that.
Absolutely, the gap continuing to increase with this side-by-side battle for the runner-up position. Now 1.7 seconds. It was 1.2 seconds before Nunez started putting the pressure on Alex Coates. Coates gonna fight him off though and keep the runner-up spot for the moment. Nunez slots back into third, but look at how Heisong and Forsyth use that battle to their advantage. They're now closing up here. Gonna throw a blanket over 4 cars as we got a driver on pit road. The 00 of Jason Hand, and I believe this is a scheduled pit stop because remember, he took the wave around under the last caution.
Yeah, so obviously he was hoping for a quick caution to kind of bail him out there so he could take a pit stop under yellow, but unfortunately not really how this is going to work. So he's going to have to stop, take a kind of scheduled but unscheduled unfortunate pit stop.
Yeah, gained that lap back with the wave around. Going to lose at least 2, I would assume, laps here with a green flag pit stop. Also, Eric Schaus came to pit road a couple of laps ago, and they pushed his car back to the infield. So Schaus is done for the evening. Looks like he's going to finish in 13th. CJ Holloman also just sitting on pit lane. More than likely will not return to the track. He'll be credited for 14th place. So we've got 12 drivers still running. 8 of them on the lead lap right now. By the way, if we were to get a caution flag, Eric Peterson is right now sitting in that free pass spot. Remember, his night did not start out the way he wanted. Got the pole position. As soon as the green flag dropped, got his left sides down the apron, spun it around, did not get a caution to save him until a couple laps later, and subsequently ended up losing a couple of laps. He's been kind of trying to fight back here ever since.
That's the thing, is you have to be kind of hurting him inside to, hey, be that close, be on pole, be able to kind of run away with this, and you're not even in the conversation at the moment. So definitely he's hoping for that caution, hoping he can kind of rebound here so he can start working his way back up towards the front.
Next time by, Rick Ravon will have us at 60 laps to go. Want to remind everybody that the Dark Horse Racing Series is partnered with SimWrap Market, and you can head over to simwrapmarket.com and enter in the promo code DarkHorse10 to get 10% off of any order. Big thank you to SimWrap Market for their affiliation here with the Dark Horse Racing Series presented by Troy Lee Designs. As I'm telling you what, this camera has not taken its eyes off of this second place battle. No sooner does Coates kind of thwart the attempt by Nunez, and Nunez charges right back up. These guys have not let each other go for that second spot.
I'm telling you, both of them are having the same thoughts of, why won't you just let me go? And it's really the same thing of, obviously, once you're in that draft, yes, it becomes a little bit tighter, a little bit harder to control, but you do gain a little bit more speed where it's easier to attack and really kind of make those lunges. I think that's the big kind of thing that's popping up is, hey, why won't you let me go? I've got more speed. And then as soon as you get in front, that draft line comes back saying, hey, I'm right here. Let me try and attack. Let me try to get in front of you.
And again, this is the battle for second place. Race leader Rick Ravon is almost a full straightaway ahead, almost 4 seconds ahead of this battle for the runner-up spot. Also, no sooner do I mention that Eric Peterson's in the free pass position. He just hit pit road. Remember, he had also taken the wave around under the last caution, so that now moves Dylan McIntosh into the lucky dog spot, and Peterson's going to lose at least 3 laps, it looks like here. So another driver, much like Jason Hand, that was hoping on the quick caution to come out and help that wave around strategy to work, and that was not the case.
I mean, I can't fault Eric Peterson for trying, but again, just unfortunately when it rains it pours, and unfortunately when you need that caution, just never happens.
So when we went back green, Matt, we went back green with 80 laps to go. I don't believe we saw anybody stretch it 40 laps on fuel, but I want to go back to when we saw Craig Forsyth stayed out that extra lap and then come to pit lane under the second lap of caution. I mean, he's been running in the draft of Jeff Heisong for the majority of this run. could we maybe be looking at him to do a 40-lap stint and then try and run the rest of the race, the final 40 laps, where everybody else might have to come to pit road twice before the checkered flag?
I could see it. I mean, again, we always say it. Try to beat him on strategy if he's too fast. And right now, Rick Ravon is gone. He doesn't really have any drafting help. He can't really save all that much fuel. So, hey, maybe this is a viable strategy to try to beat him on fuel mileage.
Of course, I'm now going to take a look to the inside of Jeff Highsong. This is for 4th place. Not quite clear off of turn 2. He'll try to complete the pass here into 3 and 4. You've also got Andrew Wood there in the 6th position, trying to make his way back up to the top 5, and he's going to get the spot because Highsong went way too high there in 3 and 4, and he lost 2 spots as a result. Now, I know that the right front, with the tire heat building up, that's got to obviously have the car feel like it's plowing through the center of the corner, but also notice the seams here. This kind of reminds me of when we end up seeing the seams at Auto Club or at Michigan. I mean, if you get your right front on one of those seams, could that also cause it to slide and cause the nose to kind of point up towards the safer barrier, cause you have to try and catch the thing before you come off the corner?
Realistically, yes, it could affect grip just a little bit. I think really your biggest thing that's working against you right now is actually your mind. It's just, you've probably got that right front on your mind. You're probably trying to think, okay, I don't need to shove it in the corner that fast. I need to kind of conserve tires. And you're kind of analyzing everything you're doing. But hey, if you're losing time, or if you see that relative and you see you're dropping down or dropping back, your mind kind of goes into overdrive of, okay, what am I doing to lose all this time? And you start kind of over analyzing, and that slows you all the way down. It's one of those things where your mind can be your worst enemy here.
Rick Ravon has been a lap leading machine. We have run 484 laps so far this season, and Rick has led over half of those, 250 laps coming into tonight's event. He's dominated this race after he got the top position from Eric Peterson at the initial get-go, and trying to see if he can pick up his 2nd win on the season, not only to tie Craig Forsyth for most wins on the year, but also to close up that 10-point gap deficit that he had coming tonight for the overall points lead.
And, big shout out to Joseph Morales. I mean, he hasn't been lighting the world on fire, but kind of been in between, kind of branching towards Jeff Highsong, but kind of speed towards the front of the pack, but has been ahead of Gary Corley and all the guys in the rear end of the pack, where, again, hasn't been setting the world on fire, but just getting valuable experience to take forward.
Yeah, as you can see, started this race from the 12th position. Right now, running in 7th. He is the driver so far that has picked up the most spots since the drop of the green flag. Also, 4 positions picked up by Craig Forsyth and Andrew Wood, as they now run in the 4th and 5th positions. Another thing we might have to start thinking about here, outside of potential round of green flag pit stops once again, is Rick Ravon might end up catching lap traffic pretty soon. I'm noticing a couple of drivers that might be maybe about 10-15 laps away from being in the path of the race leader number 1.
And Rick Ravon's kind of in that weird situation where right now he has a bit of a lead. It has been kind of crunched down a little bit, where it's not as big as it once was, but not really in that danger zone. And I think he may be trying to save fuel at the moment.
Peterson, this will give you an idea of the difference between fresh and old tires. He's been able to make his way past 4th place Craig Forsyth. Let's see just exactly what the closing rate is between himself, Nunez, and Coates that continue to battle for 2nd place. Lap times certainly are showing that he is a lot faster, as he's been about 10th and a half faster than these guys ahead of him. And whoa, Nunez! I think Nunez was actually trying to go to the inside to let Peterson by, and Peterson didn't get that memo. Yeah, Nunez is actually pitting.
Oh, okay, he did not speed on pit road. Just want to make sure. He almost sped.
Nunez has been one of those guys, too, that we've seen in the past. He likes to be one of the first onto pit lane, likes to try that undercut strategy.
Yeah, that's the big thing, is he's kind of looking at this saying, hey, I can get a big jump on Coates, I can get a big jump on Rick Ravon, and hey, look at this right now where Ravon and Coates are all coming in the pit road now. So we're kind of playing catch up. So hey, this is one extra lap, but Nunez can really get that pit road exit, get aggressive exit, and hope to pass them both.
Oh, I was trying to kind of maybe throw out a unorthodox strategy for Craig Forsyth, but honestly, I think this is the final pit stop of the evening for everybody because most of these drivers went about 42, 43 laps on that stint, 40 laps to go, so calculations say that they should be able to make it to the checkered from this point on. Oh, Forsyth! What a four-wheel slide as he does make the commitment line. I don't know if he got that thing wound up to pit road speed, but he nearly looped it around trying to hit pit lane.
That's the thing. He made pit road speed, did not speed, but pretty much whale of an effort trying to keep that car from completely demolishing it. I think he may have sacrificed his entry a little bit, but
I mean, you don't need those tires. They're going to be exchanging those here, so might as well use them up to their full capacity, I guess.
I paid for the whole tire. Might as well use it.
That's right. So Rick Rabon's going to cycle back around to the race lead, and take a look at that undercut strategy by Luis Gonzalez Nunez. There you see him in the same camera shot as Rick Rabon, about 7.5 tenths of a second is the gap. So the undercut did work a little bit here for driver 14.
That's the big thing you got to use in the back of your head is, hey, does that one extra lap of fuel and one extra lap that I have on my tires, is that really going to affect me?
Remember, too, if we go back to last week, or 2 weeks ago, I should say, our last event at New Hampshire, we observed that Luis Gonzalez Nunez was one of the few drivers that was really able to make passes, complete passes, on the inside line. I mean, New Hampshire was kind of the same storyline as what we had here tonight, where if you had to make a pass, it was going to have to be on the inside line, and it was going to be a task. It was going to have to be very methodical, and very carefully you would have to make that move. Well, Luis Gonzalez Nunez was able to do it last time out at New Hampshire. Now he's got a shot here at Rick Rabon, although I don't think that he's going to be able to shift Rabon off of that yellow line, so he's probably going to have to take the long way around if he's going to pass for the lead.
He's going to have to do it a bit aggressively. I think the best thing he can do right now, just make sure he can maintain the same pace as Rick Rabon, not burn up his tires, and see if he can force him into a mistake of just being there. Hopefully maybe he overthinks something or gets stuck in lap traffic, you can take advantage of it.
Interesting to see if Nunez was able to pull off this victory, where he'd be situated going into Michigan, because he came into this race 5th in points, 53 points back. He was only 5 points behind Jeff Hysong. We know he's probably going to pass David Cook here tonight in the standings. He was 43 points behind Rabon, 53 points behind Craig Forsyth. So he could potentially move up as high as 3rd in overall points going into the Irish Hills. And depending on where Forsyth finishes out this race, along with Rick Rabon, I mean, maybe be within striking distance of taking the points lead over as soon as next week.
Realistically, just kind of use that in the back of your head of, hey, a win here, a win there. And looking at next week, with it being double points, he gets a good finish. I mean, he could be right back in this.
Slow traffic there. Dylan McIntosh, rather, in the 0-4, yielding to the race leader, Rick Rabon. Luis Gonzalez Nunez is going to hope for the same courtesy here as he'll approach that blue and orange 0-4 on the back straightaway. Looks like McIntosh going to move up there and allow Nunez on by. I might have lost a little bit of ground there for Nunez to Rick Rabon, as it appeared Rabon got around the 0-4 a lot quicker than Nunez did. Also, not certain what happened there with Joseph Morales. We were singing his praises. He was doing a great job beside the top 10. He came to pit road when everybody else did, but he had a much longer pit stop. I'm almost wondering, Matt, it looks like maybe he might have been pegged by the speeding police.
Yeah, but I'm just all but Craig Forsyth and right now Alex Woods, they're both making a charge on Alex Coates, and he is falling.
There's Forsyth now up to 3rd, Coates in 4th, Wood right there. You got Jeff Hysong as well, so a good quartet of drivers here battling for the final spot on the podium.
Like I told you, this is kind of like a Charles Teed kind of comeback where, hey, the first part of the race doesn't really go your way, and you kind of spend the whole middle half of the race clawing your way back. This is kind of the end of the race charge that Andrew Wood is putting together now.
Jason Hand back on pit road, his final pit stop of the evening. I believe Eric Peterson's going to have to come to pit road before the conclusion of this race as well. Everybody else, though, should be able to make it on what they've got in the tank. Now it's basically you got what you got, go out there and try and get that extra 1 or 2 positions before the checkered or potentially the late race caution with less than 30 to go.
I see Nunez is trying different lines. Just, I think he's A, trying to get a little bit of clean air, but B, trying to see if he can carry a little bit more speed in and out of these corners.
Yeah, we ended up seeing when he was battling at the time for second place with Alec Coates. He was kind of searching around trying to see if he could get momentum off the corner. And maybe with the fact that we saw Rick Ravon basically throw down the challenge when Nunez was closing in of, hey, I'm not coming off this yellow line. If you're going to pass me, you're going to have to pass me around the top. That might be why Nunez is searching, trying to get that extra bit of straightaway speed so that way he can carry that momentum into the higher groove to try and make a pass around the outside.
And realistically, I don't really view this as a risk versus reward strategy. I mean, this is, in my mind, all reward where the track dynamically changes. And hey, running a different line at different points in time with different wear, I mean, that could open up a lane that you just didn't expect.
Oh gosh, I thought we were just about to have our third caution of the evening there. Andrew Wood completed the pass on Alec Coates, but it was very close between the front and rear wing of those two, and they went into turn one last time. Thought maybe we'd have seen the 64 going around, but able to get on the brakes in time was Alec Coates. They now get themselves settled out in 4th, 5th, and also 6th place Jeff Highsong right there.
To be honest, seeing Coates kind of fall this fast, it's a little bit concerning, wondering if he maybe burnt up his tires a little bit early into this run.
Yeah, we're only about 15, 16 laps into this run, and you want to preserve your tires when you're at a track like this. Talk about trying the different lines. You saw right there, very, very shallow exit for Luis Gonzalez Nunez off of turn 4. About 0.6 of a second between himself and Rick Ravon, and they're almost running identical lap times here as well. There's about maybe 100th here, 100th there between those two, but practically running the same lap times here for the last 5-10 laps.
Yeah, I don't really know who has the edge here. Right now, I think Rick Ravon has the clean air and really is able to do more with it. But Nunez is kind of always playing catch up and really can't get that perfect time better than Rick Ravon.
Yeah, and I think to your point too, I think Rick Ravon has the advantage in the fact that he gets to choose the line he wants to run. He's forcing Luis Gonzalez Nunez to do something different, maybe outside of his comfort zone if he's going to have a shot at this victory. Reminds me of a lot of the times when we were at the 1.5 mile and 2 mile tracks here in the past in previous seasons. I remember Nick DeGroot was a driver. Once he got to the race lead in the closing stages of those races, you couldn't get him off the bottom. If you were going to pass him for the lead, you had to do it around the top side, and more often than not, the success rate was pretty low.
Yeah, and it's kind of one of those, yes, I could put it there, but if I put it there, are we all going to live?
The ultimate risk versus reward.
The final risk versus.
Less than 20 to go here at Phoenix. So far here tonight, we've only had 2 cautions come out. The first one was Andrew Wood and Eric Schaus getting together over in turn 2. Second caution was CJ Holloman going around on the front straightaway. Aside from that, we've seen pit strategy come into play. We've seen some nice long green flag runs here, and we've seen some really good battles here as well, from second place battle to about a 4-way battle for 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. I mean, these guys, they've definitely mixed it up here tonight.
Yeah, and it really hasn't been that kind of win where you say someone easily had it in hand. I mean, yes, Rick Ravon has been out front of most of this race, but people have not made it easy on him and really have kind of tested him every step of the way.
Nunez has closed the gap up. It was 0.6 when we last checked. It is now down to, well, it was about 4.5. It just opened up to half a second. Might have lost a little ground there through 1 and 2, but he was slowly reeling Rick Ravon in. I'm almost wondering if maybe when he started reeling him in, he got into the wake. When he got close enough, that's why he started falling off again, getting into that dirty air.
That's the big thing of these cars kind of get stuck in their own little kind of aero wake, like you said, and it makes it extremely hard to try and claw your way back up.
Go on board here with Luis Gonzalez Nunez. Watch the line that he runs going into 1 and 2 as opposed to Rick Ravon. Rick right down on the bottom of the racetrack. Nunez almost running the identical same line through the first couple of corners. Let's see if they change it up through 3 and 4. Rick again right down to the yellow line, and Nunez maybe about a quarter of a groove higher there that time, but not really doing any experimentation. As soon as I say that though, look at this. Way up there, about the 2.5, almost 3rd groove, straddling that 2nd seam, and it didn't look like it gained him anything off of 2.
Yeah, I think he's trying to just see if he can carry more exit speed and not have to worry about it. It seems like he's got 3 and 4 down, but 1 and 2 seems to be his Achilles heel.
Oh, that's the closest he's been. He's going to try that top line again through 3 and 4. He had closed it up to 3.5 tenths. Actually, correction, that was 1 and 2 there. Let's see if he jumps to the top in 3 and 4 like he did the previous lap. Nope, not quite as high as he was the last time. Now a half a second back again. It almost looks like you said, he's really good in the last two corners. He loses the ground over there into 1 and 2. That's where Rick's able to have a better exit.
I think really what got Nunez all that time was he got a really good entry in the 3, and he did it just like that, where he's able to carry and not really lift and have that full-on exit out of the corner and claw back all that time. But when he misses that apex, he extremely kind of has to lift, and he falls way back.
I'm looking at lap times here, Matt. 22nd flat for Rayvon, a 19.9 for Nunez, 19.8 for Craig Forsyth. Don't look now, but the two-time winner, the points leader, there he is in the same camera shot as the top two.
I think Rick Rayvon may still have a little bit in the tank, but right now I think he's really focusing on Nunez and not really paying very much attention to Forsyth. That may come back to bite.
That last time by, 2 tenths quicker than Nunez, 3 tenths quicker than Rayvon for Craig Forsyth. This time by, 2 tenths quicker than both drivers, as the gap from first to third is only 1.2 seconds. 8 laps to go here at Phoenix.
Maybe a little bit too little too late for Forsyth to make a move, but Nunez needs to get a move on. And I really worry if Forsyth and Nunez start to battle, that really could be on what plays into the hand of Rick Rayvon.
I don't really have the time to be able to do the quick math in my head, but consider the fact that maybe for Forsyth, he's not as focused on Rick Rayvon as he is the second place driver of Nunez. If he's able to pass Nunez and finish second to Rick, he may be able to still keep the points lead going into Michigan next week.
And Rick Forsyth is still beating both the times of Nunez and Rick Rayvon. He is fast, but I'm kind of curious if he can really keep up this.
He's closing in on the top two, but the fastest car on the track is actually fourth place Andrew Wood, who's not that far back either. He's a little less than 2 seconds behind race leader Rick Rayvon. There you see him also in the same camera shot. But again, to your point, 5 laps to go could be too little too late for both of these drivers who apparently had very good long run speed. I don't know if that was just in the fact that maybe they didn't use up their tires nearly as much as the top two, or they were able to find something here on the long run.
I think he has something, but I think it's really too little too late.
If we were to end up getting a caution, I believe that the race at this point in time would end under yellow. So if you're Nunez, Forsyth, and Wood, I would assume you'd want the green flag to still stay out. It would give you a better chance to be able to maybe challenge Rick Rayvon for this win rather than have to just concede it under pacing. Rick Rayvon, though, I think that at this point in time now, you're just looking at that arrow screen. You're not even worried about what line the other drivers are running. The next thing you want to see as you come off of turn 4 and look up into that cactus flag stand, you want to see the white flag in the flagman's hand.
Now, I'm kind of looking back here through the field. Andrew Wood, that is a great recovery from what really was a downhill race from the get-go. Being able to rebound the fourth here, and hey, barring any last lap instance, fourth is a very respectable day.
Saw the white flag in the air displayed over the red, white, and blue number 1 of Rick Rayvon. Started out the season with the victory at Pocono and looking for win number 2 on the year here tonight at Phoenix. He'll also look to maybe take the points lead going into Michigan as he wins here tonight in the desert. The former champ going back to victory lane here in Season 6.
Not a bad showing at all. Unfortunately, Craig Forsyth, I think that second win came way too late for him to really make a last lap charge. And again, just kind of that arrow wake just doesn't really forgive.
Nunez in second, Forsyth in third. So your podium comprised of your 3 former winners from this season. The only 3 drivers that have captured a checkered flag so far here in Season 6. You mentioned about the great comeback run there for Andrew Wood in fourth, and Alec Coates, another solid run here tonight, another top 5 added to his resume as he finished in the 5th position. Rick Rayvon now going to do a victory lap here around this flat, little over a mile racetrack here and begin the celebration in the desert.
I'm waiting for him to actually park it in victory lane.
Yeah, that's right. Got the victory lane there that he can do his celebration with his team. See if he actually goes there or not.
I will say, as one triumph happens for Rick Ravon, you also have to kind of feel bad for Eric Peterson never really having that shot to get right back on top.
Eric Peterson, Eric Schaus had a good qualifying effort here tonight and ended up kind of getting put behind the eight ball very early on in this race as well. And also, not certain exactly what happened with him, but was expecting some good things out of Gary Corley here tonight with the speed that he showed in practice and was up inside the top five in the early going. But something must have happened here on this last run because he actually finishes 3 laps down in the 11th position. So, yeah, the elation of drivers having tremendous runs here tonight, some of them mounting comebacks to the deflation of drivers that looked like they were poised for good performances, and it just did not work out to fruition.
Definitely kind of looking at the unfortunate victims. Again, Gary Corley kind of ended up getting a few laps down, never really could rebound. Jason Hand, again, he really bet it all on that strategy. Didn't really work out. CJ Holloman really just kind of victim of poor incidents where he had nowhere to go.
So a lot of drivers will be looking to mount some comebacks on points lost here tonight, next week at Michigan. For others, they'll be looking to continue on their momentum as we will be heading into our first double points race of the season next week at the 2 Mile Speedway / Super Speedway. And time to go down trackside, see if we can talk with some of our podium finishers as the celebration continues here for Rick Raven. I almost wondered if maybe he's trying to figure out how many more laps he could have gone before that thing ran out of fuel, because we know these guys were somewhere around that lap 40 mark of when they came
I
to
think he
pit
actually
road there.
knows where Victory Lane is.
These cars aren't equipped with GPSs or something?
I mean, it's the only thing that's lit up in the infield, so I mean.
That's true. How do you miss the neon lights? Now, let's see if we can dial up some of our podium finishers here. I believe we'll have to wait on Luis Gonzalez Nunez. We do have our third place finisher, Craig Forsyth, though, so let's talk with him.
Looking. There he is.
Hey, Craig, it's Matt and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Hey, you betcha, guys. How you doing tonight?
Oh, we're doing great. We got treated to a really good race here this evening. A lot of strategy coming into play, and looked like you drivers out there pretty much had your hands full, especially on the long run. But, man, we saw you start to close up there on the top two in the closing stages. If you had enough laps, did you have anything for them? Because the lap times were certainly looking like they were in your favor.
Yeah, I knew they were fuel saving that last run to make sure they could make it. I was pretty sure they were going to make it or like be short by maybe a lap, so coast across the line. So I was doing my darndest. I mean, I had I'd stayed out long enough. I knew I was flat out fifth gear the whole way, so I was tearing it up. But once I got up to the back of Louise, I just once you hit the dirty air, it's really hard. So a few more laps, I could have got past him. Might have got past Rick, but that would have changed. What the expectation for the race was, because we were fuel saving right there. I mean, I don't think I could have made that race any more difficult for myself. I looped it coming into pit lane initially, and it was only thanks to that caution that I was able to get bunched back up, and darn near looped it again coming into pit lane the second time. I made this race far more difficult than it needed to be.
Actually, that was what my question was going to be about. I've noticed you had a lot of pit road issues today, and realistically, some really good saves. But is that kind of the risk versus reward of getting those kind of really aggressive pit entries?
I didn't even think I was being. I mean, my first pit entry was a complete. I think there was a slow car up on the track, and I got distracted by him, so went down. And at which point I think I was in pit. Already below in pit, technically going into the pit lane from like pit exit stuck. So yeah, making that left turn was harder than I expected it to be, and I went too quickly. But on that second one, I thought I was going in at a nice pace, and I turned out to be completely wrong, because the second I started to aggressively apply the brakes, we slid again. So I need some more practice at this pit entry. It's the redesigned version of this track is not one I enjoy that much. So I need more laps at it.
Now we've seen here for the last few weeks some great battles between yourself and Rick Rabon for that points lead. Next week when we go to Michigan, it's the first of two double points races, and Matt and I were kind of tossing around this opinion. I mean, as a driver, do you, when you take the green flag here tonight at Phoenix, kind of think to yourself, we got this double points race coming up. Even if I don't win, I want good momentum going into that race.
Oh, I love Michigan, and Michigan is probably my favorite track to drive. So, and I enjoy the big drafting tracks. It's going to be a good race. But I mean, I know Rick is also very good at that track, so it should be a hell of a battle. I had nothing for Rick's pace tonight, so any position I could eke out just to keep it close was going to be a priority. So I'm hoping for a good result ahead of Rick next week. That's for sure, because the double points will make it a little easier.
Well, you're right. The battling has been a lot of fun to watch and going to be a lot of fun to watch it culminate next week with that double points on the line at Michigan. But, Craig, a tremendous run for you here tonight. Congratulations on the podium. And now we'll give you the opportunity to thank some sponsors and do some shout outs.
Once I got to thank Jim over at 4D Racewear. I know him and the team has been unable to make the race starts recently, so they're hopefully going to get some laps in some of the races later on this season. Come back, but that's it for me. I'm tired.
Well, Craig Forsyth brings it home with his fourth straight podium finish on the season here tonight at Phoenix. Congratulations once again on the great run, and best of luck next week in the Irish Hills.
Thanks, guys. Stay safe.
I believe we've got our second place finisher, Luis Gonzalez Nunez, available now. Luis, it's Matt and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
I got you.
Well, man, I'll tell you what, coming off the momentum of that victory at New Hampshire a couple of weeks ago, you follow it up here tonight with a great run at Phoenix. But, man, we saw you there on that last run. Close up the gap about maybe 0.2 of a second off the one car. Kept falling off. What was it that was the deciding factor there? Was it that you had to try and change your lineup to maybe try and reel him in? Were you starting to feel the effects of the dirty air? What was it?
Well, nothing about that. It's basically was a mistake. I didn't put. I think on the last yellow flag I went out. I don't know in gallons because I don't use gallons. I supposedly the top is 49 liters, but I left 3 liters left in the pit stop. So basically, that 3 liters means like 2 laps in comparison with normally consumed. So that's why I was behind to Rayvon. It's like when I saw Rayvon, they have a struggle with the fuel because I approached with 0.3 and after 0.5, I saw Craig coming faster on behind to me. And I thought Craig is going to pass us and win the race, but I don't know. I don't know what happened. But there's nothing about the dirty air or nothing. It's just because in the last pit stop, I put 20 centiliters, and then when I came out, they said in total 46. It's like, oh my God. Oh, so I screwed with 3 liters left. So that's the reason, basically.
So I've got to ask about the side-by-side battles with Alec Coates. Did that slow you down any, or I mean, what was your kind of take on the side-by-side battles tonight?
I just on the first run, when I behind to Craig, I said, "Oh, I think so. The car need to." I figured out about how much it's gonna be and costly on consume. So when I passed to Alex, I tried to pass Alex to be behind try to be behind with Raybon. But he coming inside, I didn't expect to he battle the inside to me. I tried to squeeze, but I don't know. I can see on my left side. So, and when he passed me, I said, okay, you know what? Let's stay behind. Let's make 1 lap more than him, or maybe save it because I I really did a mistake in that moment. So I said, okay, so let's save it. Let's try to make the same stint with the other guys, because I, in my mind, said maybe these guys put the top fuel, so they put all the fuel to the end. So that's why I stay on the behind. But the side by side is really, really tough, especially when you're inside, because the guy on the right side can be squeeze you, and your car is coming up, especially with the old tires. But it was like that. So it's just only stay on behind, try to save the fuel. It's really, if it's in green, I expect it to put fuel tank, and after maybe 44 for the last two stints. But and that yellow flag in the last yellow flag was the actually was in front of me. Anyways, he CJ crashed in the wall, and he came on my screen on front of me. So I really did one move on the right side, but I feel I almost lost it, because I feel like something on the back, but I really put the car on the straight. But just again, the question was yes, I stayed behind to him and try to catch Raven because it's so faster. But that's the strategy.
Yeah, we saw that Holloman spin courtesy of your onboard there when we took a couple of those replays. Obviously here tonight, this track doesn't have nearly as high banking as some of the other tracks we've been to. Auto Club, Kentucky, we got Michigan next week. We saw how strong you were at a lower banked racetrack at New Hampshire. Here tonight, was there anything with the racing style that you showed when we were at New Hampshire Motor Speedway that you were able to apply here tonight?
Well, I really, when I start to taste the car, I said, "Oh, it's it's not really loose. The car, this is a good thing." I didn't feel any loose things about the car. I really surprised about Eric Peterson spin at the first lap, and I really aware about that. But it just only play with the throttle. It's just basically that. I don't know. I about the new handshake was between accident and things. It's just only I experiment that thing in another league, and it was well, another league was a worse situation because I crashed with somebody anyways. But in here I really use I really, in that New Hampshire I use that strategy. But here is like just play with the throttle and try to don't. I really taste go to the apron, uh, try to put the two tires on the yellow line, but was they have a lot of grip in the truck, so I really didn't have any troubles on the practice. But the the car was a super nice. The setup is super nice. I really enjoy a lot. It's not really. I really was a short race today. Was a short race, at least 1 hour, maybe something like that. I expect to be a more maybe 1 hour and 20 minutes or something like that. But it was super short. I'm really happy about that. And yeah, I enjoy a lot the setup and the race today.
Well, Luis, another great run for you. Going to gain some more spots in the point stands. I believe, if my math's correct, you're going to be up inside the top 3 in points heading into Michigan next week. So it's been a great couple of weeks for you here. The win at New Hampshire, second place here tonight at Phoenix. So congratulations on that. And now we'll give the opportunity for some thank you sponsors and shoutouts.
Well, first of all, I know it's so special day today for you guys and from the North America, basically, and USA. So I'm gonna dedicate all of this for your special day. Is I know nobody want to remember this, but we need to remember that people uh, pass away or lost that day, family and things. So this first of all for you guys. I know you're very dedicated and maybe have a lot of memorials about this. I want to say thank you for my sponsor too, Sim Racing 24/7, HyperX and ESTV too. And also I want to say thank you, my fans in I say fans, it could be bigger, but it's just only 2 people, 3. Anyways, it's my family in Chile. I say thank you for support me. Stay on the streaming, and thank you guys for everything. And en Spanish, por sure, I'm gonna say gracias por estar ahí, and vamos a ver la próxima semana en Michigan si podemos ganar o sacar la victoria o lo que sea. I hope in Michigan can get the podium, I hope, or the win. It's a very tough race. It's gonna be everybody in 1 second, and I hope it's gonna be a good race next week. I hope, and thank you so much, guys, and see you in Michigan.
Absolutely. That's Luis Gonzalez Nunez. He is confirmed going to be third in points going into the Irish Hills at Michigan after his 3rd straight podium here tonight at Phoenix. Congratulations once again, Luis. Best of luck next week.
Thank you so much, and let's do it.
And let's see if we can now go down to Victory Lane. 2nd win of the season for Rick Ravon. Rick, it's Matt and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us? I think he fell asleep in his car.
What? Hello?
Yeah, Rick. I mean, hopefully you're awake. Tonight, dominating performance. Pretty much led the entirety of this race outside of the green flag pit stops, but we heard that you guys were close on the fuel numbers. So, I mean, just how nervous were you getting there on that final stint?
I'm sorry. First, I got to apologize. I fell asleep waiting to be interviewed. Yeah, how close? How close were we? We were so close. I mean, very close. I wasn't really checking the numbers until the last fuel stop, and I went, "Oh no, don't tell me this is going to be another." You know, I saw Forsyth dropping back, and I saw the other guys dropping back. I'm like, "There's no way I don't have that kind of speed over these guys. They're saving fuel. They must know something." So I started conserving myself, and then when I came in, it was like, well, I can't say full conservation mode because, you know, Nunez was right up my tailpipe, so I had to do what I could, you know, to just kind of kick in the clutch and save where I could. If I had enough of a gap on him, I could kick in the clutch a little bit, and I was just doing whatever I could, and we made it with half a gallon left. We actually had more fuel. We could have gone another lap, which was surprising, but yeah, it was definitely close.
So I've got to ask, with obviously you seem to be in pretty well command and control in this race. Is there any really big moment that kind of alarmed you or said, "Oh, hey, this may be not as easy"?
Well, there's somebody out there who was kind of going a little bit left and right, made me a little nervous when I came up to lap him. Other than that, everybody was pretty smooth, pretty clean. I mean, as you see, we only had one yellow flag. I was kind of hoping for another yellow so I wouldn't have to conserve. I hate that. I love to race for it. You know, I really don't like fuel runs, but you know, if it comes down to it, we could do it if it pops into my head. But that's pretty much the only close call that I had was the one slower car out there was kind of moving around a little bit. That's pretty much it.
When we talked with Luis Gonzalez Nunez just moments ago, he was talking about how he was expecting at the initial start of this race for the car to be really loose. Did the nighttime conditions give you guys a little bit of more added grip, a little bit more stability with these race cars?
Well, you know, that's the kind of thing that you test in practice, and we have the same weather settings, you know, as during the race, and then they give all of this stuff to you. They give the setup to you and everything else beforehand, a couple of days beforehand, so you can get that stuff out of the way. I knew we were going to have grip. I knew that these cars were stuck like glue, so I was just flat on it, you know, from the green flag.
Now we're going into Michigan next week. Obviously, we've condensed it down from 3 double points race to 2. You're the defending winner at that Michigan event. I mean, how important is it to have this race win here tonight, have that momentum going into the double points race next week?
Well, momentum is always important. You know, Michigan is one of those toss-up races. It'll probably come down to a fuel run again. But, you know, these cars are pretty, you know, stuck together. I don't know if we're doing the old Michigan or the new Michigan. I think if we did the old Michigan, I think the driver comes a little bit more into play. The new Michigan just has so much grip, it's insane, and the whole field can be, you know, separated by about a second and a half at the most through the whole race because these tires don't really lose that much grip at all. It's kind of a lottery. We'll see if it comes down to a strategy deal, but you just got to keep your nose clean and get to the end of the race. But momentum, oh sure, momentum means a lot. It doesn't mean everything because, I had momentum at Pocono. I won the first race of the season, and I've had nothing but bad luck ever since. And Craig's had some really good luck. He's a great racer, but he's also had some things fall his way. My teammate wrecked in front of him at I think it was Kentucky, and he went right through him. He just ghosted through him, and we were side by side. We were 3 wide, and I think he got together with Andrew Wood. Wood came over a little bit, and it was right in front of me, and that wrecked me. So things haven't been going my way, but momentum was on my side, you would say, at Pocono, but it turned around. So I guess you could say, yeah, momentum's back on my side, but you just never know, man. It's just anything can happen in these races. I just hope that the bad luck is behind me.
Well, Rick, a great performance for you here tonight. Mentioned here coming into this evening, you've been a lap-leading machine, led more than half the laps that you've turned so far here this season, and just continue to add to that statistic here tonight with this dominating performance. So now we'll give you the opportunity down there to do some victory lane. Thank you, sponsors, and shout-outs.
All right, first and foremost, thank you, Jesus, for dying on the cross for me. Thanks to the guys that put on this league, of course. Thanks to you guys at FRN. Up there in the booth. He did such a fantastic job with the broadcast. All of them. I love them. I save them on YouTube. I have them in an archive so that, if I want to, I could just pull one up and have it on in the background or sit there and watch it. And it's always exciting. It's always enjoyable. You guys just do such a great job. Thanks to the guys that come out and race every week. Thanks to the guys that race clean, of course. Thanks to everybody who's watching out there. Thanks to my wife for, I guess, being my wife. Can't thank her for watching because she didn't come down screaming. So apparently she wasn't watching. She probably fell asleep. I'll say hello to my daughters. I love you, Zoe, Mila. And as you guys know, we're going through a lot. I might not make the next race. We might be in Indiana because we're supposed to be flying out there looking at a house. We sold our house. The closing date is tomorrow, and we're going to be flying out to Indiana. I live in New Jersey, but the hell with New Jersey. I want to go out to Indiana, where it's a God and guns. It's a carry state. It's a red state. It's wonderful. I love it out there. Good people, and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And it's a dream come true to go move out there. So there's a good chance I won't be racing on Sunday. So I don't know how many drop weeks we get in this series. Hopefully at least one, and then I can make the rest of it. But, then we're going to have a moving day in a few weeks or whatever. It's just going to be crazy. So I'll just do the best I can. But just so looking forward to moving to the great Hoosier state of Indiana, baby.
Well, that's Rick Ravon. He gets to celebrate here tonight in the desert in Phoenix. Second win on the season here in Season 6 of the Dark Horse Racing Series. Congratulations once again. Go enjoy this victory, and best of luck here for the remainder of the season. Looks like it's going to continue to be a good one.
Thank you so much, my brother. Thank you.
So as Rick Ravon continues to celebrate in victory lane here tonight, the point standings are in. We talked about this, Matt. It's been Forsyth versus Ravon. It's just going to continue on here as well. The two of them did a do-si-do. Forsyth had 10 points over Ravon. Now, 1 week removed, Ravon 10 points over Craig Forsyth, but Luis Gonzalez Nunez, he's starting to enter into that conversation. The win last time out at New Hampshire, second place here tonight, up another 2 spots. He's 55 points back, but he's now broken into the podium of the points.
And that's the big conversation where I think Nunez is in a very rare opportunity here where even though he's missed a race, I think he can claw his way back into this. Even without, he doesn't even need a win. With a good finish, he can easily jump right back up there in points. And hey, if Rick Ravon misses next week, that puts him right into the conversation.
Sounded like it's a bit of a general consensus among the drivers as far as what to expect at Michigan next week. We had a bit of a precursor with Auto Club, second race of the season, another 2-mile track, the sister track to Michigan. They're expecting the pack racing early on, and if we end up going into green flag runs, it may come down to fuel strategy at the end.
Absolutely. And that's the big kind of thing in my mind where I'm looking at this, where fuel strategy is going to be a kind of a conversation. Matt Wagner, if he shows back up for next week, Matt Wagner's always in the conversation at Michigan. And a lot of these guys who, hey, they typically don't show out these shorter tracks, but the bigger tracks, they're always in the conversation.
Absolutely. Going to be a good one if it's going to be anything like Auto Club, where we saw it literally come down to fumes as to who was able to take that checkered flag. You're not going to want to miss it. Next week at Michigan, these drivers will be taking the green flag at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time next Sunday night. But Matt, it's been a great one here tonight at Phoenix. We heard Luis Gonzalez Nunez say was very pleased that it was a fast one. These guys laying down really fast lap times, but great battling, only a few cautions, and overall, really exciting event. Good battling all the way through the field.
And that's the perk of, again, there's not very many cautions. These drivers are very clean. So when we have these big races where no cautions are really taking place, that really kind of throws to the drivers that, hey, there's a limited amount of time. We got to really show up and perform.
Absolutely, and perform they did. Well, man, I appreciate you joining me up in the booth here tonight. It was a good one.
Always enjoy. I believe you're going on vacation next week.
I am indeed. So you will not be hearing me in the booth next Sunday night. I'll be back in 2 weeks, though. When these drivers head to, I believe they're going to be at the Milwaukee Mile, so that'll be an interesting one to call. But yeah, for Matthew Rodriguez, I'm Seth Cole. Thank you everybody so much for tuning into our coverage here tonight for the Dark Horse Racing Series presented by Troy Lee Designs. We'll see you here again for the continuation of the schedule next Sunday night. For Matthew Rodriguez, I'm Seth Cole. You've been watching another broadcast courtesy of FRN, the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.